Candidates for mayor, well, two. Karen Evans, she told me when I called, she said she wouldn't be coming because she didn't want to be put on the spot with any questions, and she felt uncomfortable with that format. So, and then Bob Jackson is at the hospital with his wife tonight for a doctor visit. So if they came back in time, they'll show up, and Bob will be definitely come right in. And then Susan Roberts, when I called to confirm her, she said she wouldn't be coming. She didn't want to be bullied, and that from what happened from the previous one that they had. So anyway, they chose not to come and answer the questions. So anyway, so it's a real informal thing. So this evening we will all sit together and just ask questions. I have Judy Norgard here and Trudy Berge. They'll be the moderator. I mean, Trudy Rachel.
Trudy's over there somewhere.
Trudy, what are you doing back there? Rachel Berge, and they're the ones who are going to be asking the questions. So anyway, I encourage you guys when you ask your questions to be respectful and maybe do some follow-up questions of what you heard at the previous forums they had down at the Indian Center, and follow-up questions about that. And since we have such a small crew tonight, you hear something tonight, I want to know more about that. Just come up and get a little card from Judy and Rachel, and they'll ask their questions for you.
Leave a couple cards on some tables,
Sure,
maybe?
that'd be a great idea.
Yeah.
So, and I'm asking Randy and Leslie and Paul if they can just go ahead and say a few things about themselves, maybe that you wanted to say at the previous forums. Maybe you want to say something a little bit more elaborate on it. That would be great. And then during the question time, like before any rebuttals, just go ahead, keep it like I think we're doing 2 minutes for the questions. So like a minute for a rebuttal. And so anyway, everybody, thank you for coming. Okay, Randy, do you want to?
Oh, I get to
You're
start?
closest to me. I should have said ladies first, though.
I'm sure everyone in here knows me, and Steven's here with the camera again tonight, which is nice for everyone at home that can't make it tonight. They can watch it in their leisure. Randy Woods, raised in Hot Springs. Went through all of high school here, graduated, went to college in North Idaho for a couple of years, and then decided to come back to this area because Hot Springs has always felt like my extended family and my home. Knew most of the people in town, was always very active in community service things from 4-H. Was asked up by the ambulance when I was 16 years old. The old ladies were having trouble lifting, so they asked me to join the ambulance. Fire department when I was 19, so I've been in this public service since I was pretty young, and it's something I enjoy doing, and love the town, love the community, love the people, and we're not all going to get along all the time. We all know that. It's just, but we need to move forward and make the town work. Been mayor for the last 10 years. I would like to do at least one more term, if not 2 or 3 or 4, whatever. So, and one of the things I always try and do is always try and build and work and make the town better, whether we do it through infrastructure changes, help supporting businesses. And we all have to remember that Hot Springs is always going to be a moving target too. We always need to be looking at everything. As times change, things change, people change. We always need to be looking at how we can better that, and we need to be changing and looking forward. Is the ding for me to quit talking, or is it just someone just me?
Yes.
That was the ding that I forgot to.
Oh, so I'm happy to take any questions at any time. I can answer pretty much anything. Sorry, I don't have notes. The questions aren't predisposed to me, so I'll just have to answer them as I know them. Thank you.
Leslie, would you like to?
Yeah. Well, I'm Leslie Smith. I moved here in 1996 with my husband Daniel Smith, and we bought the historic Symes Hot Springs Hotel. And I have been president of the Hot Springs Chamber of Commerce since 1998, and I'm really committed to the businesses in town and marketing the town as a whole, because I found out very quickly it didn't cost me any more to market the town than it did to market the Symes. And I have tirelessly tried to put us out there in the universe. So, you know, we're not Montana's best kept secret. I don't think that works for us very well financially. And as the times have changed, we've gotten websites and Facebook sites, and we've got billboard signage on Highway 93 and also some on Highway 28. And I love the little red signs that were already here when I got here. I want to make sure that we keep those up, and the little Burma shave signs. And I'm really active in Homesteader Days. I took on Homesteader Days, and I think also about the same time I became president of the Chamber of Commerce. I know it isn't exactly what it used to be, but you know, when the Little Miss Hot Springs, nobody wanted to do that, we had to drop that event. If they did lager games and nobody wanted to participate in that anymore, well, we just don't do lager games. But we do pretty much follow the 3-day format that was handed off to me by Janine Woods and Donna Redmond, and you know, a lot of the women who had kept it going for a long time. And I'm really proud that we still have a really old-fashioned rodeo and kiddie games in the park, and 2 parades, a kiddie parade, a grand parade. I added all of the Main Street stage music through the Hot Springs Artists Society, but you guys always had a street dance. And in these days, a lot of communities don't have street dances. It's too much of a liability, but I like to preserve the history of our events. And I also help with Halloween. I've had several haunted houses, and the Artist Society helps me put on a kitty costume contest. We've decorated the town from one end to the other, and we do have a big costume ball on Saturday night with voodoo horseshoes. And I want to continue that activity. I really am proud of the town, the way they turn out. Last year they did the trunk or treat, and the PTO put that together. That was fabulous down Main Street, if you saw that last Halloween. So we're going to do that this year, combined with the parade and the kitty costume contests. And the reason I want to be re-elected to the city council is because we're in the middle of 2 big infrastructure projects. One is some renovation of the sewer lagoon and some infiltration of the water in town through the sewer lines. And we're taking bids in January for that. And hopefully we get some good bids and that gets completed. And then the next big project is the 3rd phase of the water project, which was part of our 5-year engineering report that was probably more than 5 years ago. But I really want to see those things through. And I've always had a fondness for the city park. I'd really like to see us get handicap access bathrooms. There's a playground set we're going to set up over there, and we really need some power in the park so we can host bigger 4th of July events and things like that. So vote for me. I'm up for re-election. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. Paul?
I'm not that long-winded. I've been in town for about, since 2001. Before that, I was born and raised on a farm in Illinois. I lived in the Flathead Valley since 1980, coached all the swim teams there, was involved a little bit in politics, but not like I am here. Spent 6 years on city council. 2 years, well, not 2 years, 2 times I chaired the growth policy here in town. I was 2 times I was on the planning board. Presently, I'm on the Hot Springs Community Awareness Board. I'm on the ambulance board. I'm volunteered to be an ambulance driver. and I grow food for the food bank. And again, I'm presently right now one of 7 owners of the Alameda's Co-op, which is the first co-op in the state of Montana. I'm here because I love this town. I want to serve this town. It's not a job that I crave to have. I do it because I feel like it's something that I want to do for the community, not that it's something that I go to bed at night going like, oh, I can't wait till I get in city council, because it's tough. If you want to feel what bullying's like, get on city council and walk down the streets and hear what people have to say to you, and you really find out what bullying can be like.
Well, thank you, Paul. Okay, and just so you know, like maybe in a half an hour, we'll stop, stretch our legs, come up. The ladies have made some beautiful treats up here for us. There's apple cider, water, tea, coffee. And so anyway, we'll start the question process with Judy and Rachel Berge.
So this question is for everyone. Please discuss your experience working in cooperation with diverse groups.
Start with.
Let's
Oh, I get to start?
with Paul.
Oh,
Excellent. I think that's actually my strong point. I feel like one of the things that I take everybody all on the same page. I mean, I don't discriminate. I feel like I walk down the streets, and even if a person is not in alignment with me, I want to hear what they have to say. I greet them with respect and honesty, and I think that that's really important in this job, that you don't have special agendas where you are just basically representing one faction of town. I think it's real important that every person that is on city council has to hear what everybody has to say, not just the special interest groups.
Leslie?
Well, I think the most diverse group walks through the Symes Hotel lobby every morning and gets a cup of free coffee. And I really love the town. That's what makes it so interesting and popular, you know, to outside groups, you know. We've hosted several groups in, you know, we had Women's Narcotics Anonymous this last weekend, and we've hosted weddings and birthdays and all different kinds of things at the Symes. I worked with children for Halloween and different kinds of things. I worked for, do fundraising for the museum. I've been on that board before. I love the seniors here. I actually am a senior, so, you know, I need to pay my dues at the senior center. And, you know, I think that we have a lot of different kinds of people that come to town. I like people that are progressive and productive. And I especially appreciate the people in town who take on fixing up these historic homes that are unlivable, and they raise them up and fix the plumbing, put a new roof on, and create rentals for the town, and small cabins for tourism too.
Okay, Randy.
My turn?
Your turn.
I grew up here. I grew up with living, the first interesting people was Rotten Ralph and Dirty Sharon, lived next door to us, and those are the first people I remember, from Skookum Patty to Fat Pat to, you know, Crazy Carl. I grew up in diverse. Hot Springs has always been diverse. It's always had your different factions, from your homesteaders to your, at that time would have been old hippies, and to, you know, tribal members, and that's what I grew up with. I grew up with working with that and working with them. You know, and the family has, I have tribal members in the family. I work really close with the tribe. I was just over there at tribal council just the other day. When I go into tribal council, it's always kind of funny. This time they asked me if I brought a drum and was going to dance for them. When we were doing the water project, if I didn't dance for them, the price changed. You know, so, you know, I work with diverse groups. I work with lots of diverse groups. And like I said before, we're not all going to see eye to eye, but we need to find that common ground. And as mayor, one of the things I've found, and actually was pointed out to me the other night by one of the rainbow women, that being mayor has really made me grow and see the diversity in all the groups. It's made me come to their functions, their potlucks, and their different gatherings, and she felt they have really grown that way. You know, and we need to hear what everyone has to say, and we need to work for the people. As Paul said, is we can't be working for factions. We have to work for all the people. And sometimes some of the things we have to do we don't agree with, but it's what the people want. And we're looking for the majority of the people. So you have to get out there and talk to them and go with that. So I feel diverse groups are something I'm really strong with.
Okay, the next question, we'll start with Leslie. Do you agree that people who live outside of town should have a voice in the planning and future of Hot Springs?
I absolutely do. I proposed, when we voted to dismantle the planning board, we assumed it was a city planning board with 5 people. We were incorrect. It was supposed to have 7, I believe, and we were operating under what we'd done before and done before and done before. Well, when we looked into it, we actually were a city-county planning board, and that's like 9 people. And several of those people can be just outside the city limits. And, you know, they're the people who, you know, they may be just outside the city limits, but they work here, they do their shopping here. They have a lot of invested here, and I do believe they deserve to have a say in what we plan in the city, and hopefully we'll have something to plan for.
Randy, do you agree that people who live outside of town should have a voice in the planning and future of Hot Springs?
Yes, they do. Part of a small community like Hot Springs is we try and put these borders up, and it's back to being diverse. We need to take in all the people. We need to take in the people that are all over in the valley. Those are the people that make the town too. It's not only just the people inside the Hot Springs, it's the people outside the Hot Springs too, whether it be from owning businesses and shopping and doing their business in town or whatever. But we have a real diverse group living outside of town that are members of the senior citizens groups. They're members of the other volunteer groups. There's people who live outside town that donate lots of money to different organizations and things in town. The town of Hot Springs, the fire department and the ambulance, we get quite a few donations from people who live outside of town, even though it's the town entities. So we need to involve them in the growth. And if we have much more growth anyways, it's probably going to involve them anyways, because if we move outside of town, if you look around, there's not a lot of empty lots in Hot Springs left. So if we do start moving, it probably will affect them in multiple ways too. We need to work together and bring everyone together and work as a large group instead of putting those walls and those borders up. We need to work together and be more accommodating.
Paul, do you agree that people who live outside of town should have a voice in the planning and future of Hot Springs?
Definitely. When you look at the businesses in town, the taxes that the businesses pay in town by owners who live outside of town, and they don't have a say in the town. That's really sad, and it's too bad they can't even vote in town. But that's just the way that is. And I totally agree that the planning board should be a city-county planning board, because everything that we do in town affects everybody outside of town.
Thank you.
All right, so this question is just for Leslie and Paul. Hot Springs is primarily a tourist-based economy. Without tourists, Hot Springs will likely go the way of countless small towns across America. What will you do to promote tourism so I don't have to drive 25 miles for a loaf of bread or a box of nails?
Me first?
Sure.
Well, I belong to the Glacier Country Tourism Board, and I termed out with a small legacy plaque, and I discovered them one day when they had advertised a film on Glacial Lake Missoula, and they were at Benji's down in Plains, and I stopped in to see what their program was all about. And when I realized that those big ads, that photos and color spreads that are in Sunset Magazine about different states and counties, whatever, that's how they get there, is through the Glacier Country underneath the Travel Montana, the state website. So I joined as one of 3 people from the county, and I was there for 12 years until they decided to turn me out. And I'm still planning on going back over because I think I still have things to contribute. So our area, the number 1 income is agriculture, number 2 is tourism. And I have to say, since I've been here and I've improved the Symes Hotel, there were only 20 rooms to start and 1 cabin, no pools, no kitchen, that I now have 30 employees that I have employed year after year after year, paying every Monday and on time. I feel good about the people that I employ. My biggest asset at the hotel are my employees, and I work tirelessly within the community as president of the Chamber of Commerce to market this area. And I don't feel that we're like any other community. We're very unique. Thompson Falls, they don't want you to know where their fishing hole is, okay? So they're not interested in tourism very much. You know, same thing with other communities, but this community has embraced tourism since the tribes met the fur traders and trappers. So we've always embraced tourism. Yeah.
Paul, would you like me to read the question again?
Please.
Hot Springs is primarily a tourist-based economy. Without tourists, Hot Springs will likely go the way of countless small towns across America. What will you do to promote tourism so I don't have to drive 25 miles for a loaf of bread or a box of nails?
Well, it's interesting because those two almost seem like they're 2 different questions. Posing the last part of it is that I think it's really important that everybody in town support the businesses we have here. You know, it's even when they look at the prices a little bit more, especially for myself, when I look at going to Gamble's, if Gamble's disappears, Alameda's disappears. I mean, if I'm working and I need 3 screws for something, I have to go to Plains, I'm in trouble. I think it's just so important that we support the businesses in town, even if the prices are a little bit higher. Because once those businesses go, you're going to find out how reasonable they were when they were here. As far as promoting businesses, I think we do that within our own businesses. I'm a tourist-based business, so I work really hard at trying to bring in groups to come and vacation here. This town would not exist without the hot water. This town would be a ranch. There wouldn't be a little town of Hot Springs here. So that's my job at Alameda is promoting tourism.
Do I get to speak on this?
It said for council candidates.
You weren't involved in that one.
I was like, Hot Springs has been a tourist town since the late 1800s. When you go back into the records of like the Plainsman newspaper and stuff, that people from Plains came up here for the hot water as far back as I've read, 1865, 1870. They used to come here. So Hot Springs has been a tourist town before it was a reservation. So.
You get to speak on this one. This
Okay.
is for the current seat holders, so it'd be Leslie and Randy. We could start with Randy. The question is about streets and culverts. They've been an ongoing issue with the people in the town. So why is it that they have not already been repaired?
Streets and culverts are never going to be completely done. That's one of those targets that moves continuously. Streets will always be in disrepair, and you can go to any town, that's just the way it is. And you can tell me it's not, but I drive in a lot of little towns and I can tell you where all their bad streets are. And one of the big things is the town of Hot Springs was getting roughly $17,000 a year to take care of streets and culverts. And that includes snow plowing, that includes anything we do with streets. So, and one of the things that happened is oil became a commodity instead of a waste. 20 years ago, people talk about road oil. Well, road oil was almost given away. They charged you for trucking because it was a byproduct out of the refineries. And now with the new refineries and the new fracking processes and stuff at those refineries, now road oil is actually a product. It went from the price of trucking to, I think we paid almost $4 a gallon for it last year for road oil. So it's went way up. And one of the other problems we had is when I took over as mayor 10 years ago, we had no real equipment for doing road work either. And that's one of those projects you just can't have people come in. Off the top of my head, I can't tell you. It was to do 400 feet, so it'd be one block of street. was gonna cost us $60,000 or some amount of money. It was just outrageous. So we've got the infrastructure there, we have the tar pots, we have all the stuff, and we're working on the streets. We continue to work on the streets. And can we do better? We will, because gas tax has been raised and the town now will be getting way more money. And of course that money's earmarked for streets only. Culverts and ditches are just one of those things that was kind of fell behind. We lacked a little maintenance, but now we have a plan going. We're working on them. Culverts have all been cleaned. They're going to be cleaned again here before the fall. A bunch of our ditches have been redone. And you're still going to have water problems, I guarantee it. When the snow melts, the ditches are full of ice. They're full of snow. The snow melts quick. Where's it going to run? Down the street, through the yard. It's the way it is. Always has been. Always will be. So the streets themselves. It's your turn.
Okay,
You want me to repeat the question, Leslie?
sure.
Okay. Streets and culverts have been an ongoing issue with the people in the town. Why is it they have not already been repaired? I don't know why this is not going away. There we go.
Well, everybody wants the streets to be improved, and I noticed some of the other candidates mentioned that. Really, there's no funding for street repair unless, I think you guys remember the last time we had a water improvement and we tore up some of the streets, and we actually had dirt down Main Street. If they tore up the street, it was attached to the actual water or sewer improvement, then there was money attached to the grant to repair the street that we tore up. Okay, but there just isn't any funding for streets by themselves. So, and the other part is culverts actually belong to the county, and the county is the one who replaces culverts and things in town. So I learned that at the Symes. Of course, everything goes downhill this way, and so if we have a huge runoff, then it lapses that culvert and goes over and underneath the cabins and tries to go right in the apartments of the building. But we got out there with our shovels and removed debris and try to keep on top of it, you know. I'm hoping that when the tribe starts repairing and renovating the old bathhouse, that we'll get a little more growth, and then we'll have some more funding for streets and culverts.
Rebuttal. I get a minute rebuttal.
Only a minute, okay.
I get a minute.
Go ahead.
And I just want to build on what Leslie said, is on your taxes, if you actually look at them, bridges and culverts are on there and you pay county taxes to that. That's just the way it is. And we're working to improve that. And some of the things we're doing is, one of the things we will be doing next, I guess if you vote for me and I continue as mayor, the next project is a capital improvement plan. And that's where we have independent engineers come to town, they look at everything. And that's one of the things that will be a priority to them, is look at the runoff water, the culverts, and all that, to see what we need to do and have a plan and get started forward on that. So that's where the plan is going, is have engineers come in, review everything, look at it, and on the culvert side. The street side, like I said, we're always gonna have busted up streets, we're always gonna have potholes. We just need to keep on top of it a little better. With the more money coming in, it'll be way easier for us to keep on top of it.
All right, this is for everyone. Please describe your experience or knowledge of the Montana Administrative Codes. Paul?
I would say not great. Usually what I have to do is I have to look it up. It's easy enough to find. So that would be my answer, is that when it comes where I have to look it up and where I need the knowledge, I just go to the computer and look at MCA.
Leslie, please describe your experience or knowledge with the Montana Administrative Codes.
Well, a lot of our ordinances in town refer to the Montana Annotated Code, or
It's Montana
Code Annotated.
It's Montana Code Annotated. So
Annotated, yeah.
Hopefully that's what they're talking about in that question.
Yeah. And I really find it helpful that the city clerk / treasurer, when we're working on the ordinance review and everything, is pretty much up on the code, and we refer to that as we're going through the ordinances.
Randy, please describe your experience or knowledge of the Montana Administrative Code.
The code it changes every 2 years, legislature. There's different changes and stuff in it. It's one of those things that you have to be on top of all the time. When you need to go look something up, you go look it up. But one of the things you have to remember is Montana code annotated. You can get it on the computer or in the book form. The book form, it's actually 4 feet of books on the shelf. So it's not just one book or 2 books. And the other thing you have to remember when you're reading laws and looking at that is a lot of times they'll have a law, you read it, you think, oh, that's what it is, but then they'll say, see this, see that. You have to really research some of that stuff. So a lot of time is spent with that, or a lot of time is spent with calling either the town's attorney, local government services, and getting some feedback on them or what's going on. So we work with Montana code all the time. It's the law, it's what we go by. Do we make mistakes? Sure, we do. One of the big things is we're all gonna make mistakes. If you're doing anything and being progressive, you're probably gonna make some mistakes. So what you need to do though, as my philosophy is own up to it, fix it, let's move on. And we have made some mistakes over the last 10 years. I can name lots of them. Owned up to them, changed what we did, and we moved forward and not really look back. Like I said, things are always changing, things are moving forward, and sometimes you get told something and then you come to find out you were told wrong. And we just need to be a little more diligent on that, but if you find something that we're doing wrong, let us know. I mean, I'm very agreeant on researching it and changing if we have to.
Okay, the next question, we'll start with Leslie. Last meeting, we heard all about vetting new city employees for background checks, past employers, past landlords, criminal records. What would we find if we vetted you?
Boy, you would. Okay, that was a short response. You're not gonna find much. No, I've been here for 22 years now, and anything I've done is pretty transparent. I've been busy running that Symes Hotel, paying my employees on time, all my property taxes are paid up. I don't owe anybody anything, and gosh, I've almost got the hotel paid off. I just want to live long enough to see the bathhouse reopened, and maybe, I don't know if it's fortunate, I might sell the place, but it would have to be the right person, and I don't have anything in my criminal background at all, so there you go. I can tell you this, I was the head designer for an electrical products company for 13 years, and I designed dashboards for boats. There you go.
So Randy, last meeting we heard all about vetting new city employees for background checks, past employers, past landlords, and criminal records. What would we find if we vetted you?
Well, on criminal records, 0. I've never even got a speeding ticket. I did get a parking ticket at the fair because I parked without a pass because it was laying somewhere else, but they threw it out. So that's what so you won't find anything there. Past landlords, you can call us a landlord in Coeur d'Alene. I've for a couple of years there, and rent was always paid. And I've worked in the family business, and then I purchased that family business and been there ever since. So I don't think you're going to find anything out of the ordinary on me.
Paul, last meeting we heard all about vetting new city employees for background checks, past employers, past landlords, criminal records. What would we find if we vetted you?
Probably more. Parking tickets, a little speeding here and there, but otherwise nothing.
This question, again, is for the council candidates. What or how do you see yourself addressing the crime and drug problem in Hot Springs? Leslie, let's start with you.
Well, I'm really happy with the current lineup in the city police department. I think Stuart's a wonderful police chief. I like the new officer, Logan, who is on at night and pretty much unseen unless something's going on. I know that that's one of the highest budget items that we deal with is police wages in the city, but as far as I'm concerned, I think we just have to be diligent because, you know, when we need those police, we need them right now. And I've had all kinds of instances in the middle of the night down at the hotel, and, you know, they might be drug or alcohol related, I'm not sure. Theft has been a big issue. I think the juveniles have been dealt with at this point, but, you know, I'm pretty happy with the police department the way it is now.
Paul, what or how do you see yourself addressing the crime or drug problems in Hot Springs?
Well, one of the ways that I see myself is, you know, I'm involved with the Hot Springs Community Awareness, and that's working with children. And I said this last time, that usually people get in trouble when they don't have a purpose in life. And that's one of the things that I think is so important with working with kids, is giving them a sense of purpose, something that they can do besides rambling around and just run into a bad friend, and pretty soon they're going down the bad road. Right now also, I believe that we have a great police corps right now. And one of the problems with this town is that it's a stepping stone, continually a stepping stone for police. They find themselves getting another job somewhere else. But right now, I think that we've got an excellent bunch of police. I'm really pleased with Stuart. I think he's a really good human being. I think he's out there and people see him as a human being and not just as a policeman. And I'm real pleased that way. As far as drugs and alcohol, again, give people some purpose in life, and usually they'll try to find a way to avoid that.
Okay, this time we'll start with Randy. What would be a top priority if you come into your position that you're running for?
Top priority? The biggest priority in town is infrastructure, in any town. And one of the things you have to do is keep up with the infrastructure, whether it be, as we spoke, streets, culverts, which have been neglected a little bit. We need to pick that up a little, which we will be in this next 6 months with the more funding in that. The other infrastructure items, as Leslie spoke of earlier, is the sewer system. The sewer system was installed in 1983 and has really had zero maintenance done to it, major maintenance, the daily maintenance, but major things done to it. We're doing some upgrades on that. And also the water, one of the things we're lacking is water supply problems, and that was project number 3, as she said. We'll pretty much finish our water system for a long period of time, 25, 30 years. We have all new pipes in the ground. This is going to be a new well with some control valving and some control systems. So, you know, and doing these projects, to keep that infrastructure new instead of getting way behind. Our community neighboring us, Polson, let their infrastructure get way behind, and they're paying for it now. So law enforcement is another big thing. Like I said before, when you talk about moving targets, is one of the things we've done is we've changed the police department a little. We're doing some different things with them. The officers are working later, staying out way later at night, and with Stuart here during the days. We pay for roughly 120 hours of law enforcement. That's not 24 hours a day, but we're trying to move those officers around where they can help and do some good. So,
Paul, what would be a top priority for you if you come into your position that you're running for?
I think keeping the infrastructure, because I do believe that the grants that are available right now are not going to be available in a few years. I'm not an optimist with the economy as it is. I think that it looks real rosy, but I don't think it is real rosy. And I do think that getting the projects done now, we'll be so glad in a few years when we actually have infrastructure in place to be able to handle the water and sewer. I think also, for me, is to bring respect and calmness to the board, to listen, and again, not deal with just one section of our population, but hear what everybody has to say. That I think I probably excel at, and that's probably my biggest reason for being on the board.
Leslie, what would be a top priority for you if you come into your position that you're running for?
Well, I concur with these two fellows here that we need to continue on with our sewer and water project because it takes a lot of guts to hire an engineering firm to project out for 5 years or more what the city needs. It costs money to do that, but if you don't have those engineering plans, preliminary engineering reports in place, then you're not eligible for those grants. And I'm really proud of the city council, as it has been for the last 10 years, taking advantage of those, and we really haven't raised the sewer or water rates in a long time. That's a big fear of the community that I noticed at the last candidate forum, that they were afraid that their rent was going to go up or their water is going to go up, and that if we get more people in town that it's going to cost more to live here. Well, you know, when I got here, there were 411 people, and after a few of my friends moved into town, there's 560 now, you know. So, but we have a very senior population, and I really want to see that we continue with young families. We provide some ecological businesses that people can actually get a job, that, you know, that we continue to improve our housing in town. And like I say, I'd really like to see the park finally get a handicap access bathroom and some electrical so that we can host more events in the city park too.
You guys, how about if we take a short break and walk around and stretch your legs and have some coffee and donuts, and we'll come back in 5 minutes?
I'm off.
To please watch this video, you know, at home. Stephen's very good about getting that out, and thank you, Stephen, for all the hard work that you do. Greatly appreciate it. So please encourage your friends and family to watch all 3 of these that have been made during this time, and get out and vote. Yes, thank you. Okay.
Okay, well, first question will be for Randy. Randy, where at this time do our current officers live, and do they drive their company vehicles home?
That was one of the questions made by a council member one night, is all of our employees live out of town. All of our employees lived in town, we hired them, they just chose to move after that. Now, you can't really restrict where people live. Our officers, Stuart Smith lives in Kalispell. He drives down, he does still rent a place down here, so whether he stays his rental or drives home, I don't know, but he drives his own car back and forth. His vehicle's normally parked at my house, that's where he leaves it parked when he's not working. Eric Flagan actually lives in his camp trailer here on some property just outside the city limits, and drives his own vehicle back and forth home. Logan Martin lives in Plains, and he does drive a city vehicle back and forth just because the hours he works, and on the weekends and stuff, sometimes he gets called back in because of things going on the weekends. So he does take a vehicle home so he can respond back up here in a timely fashion.
Okay.
All right, so this one is for everyone. Hot Springs needs economy increase to fund infrastructure. Do you have a plan to bring extra economy to Hot Springs? Leslie?
What was the first part of that again?
Hot Springs needs economy increase to fund infrastructure.
Okay.
Do you have a plan to bring extra economy to Hot Springs?
Well, I work every day to improve the tourism industry. We've got the hot water. We have a limited amount of hot water, but we use it wisely. And I'm really encouraged that the old Emery is now Stillwater, and they are opening up hot water source too, and have expanded with RVs and culverts and things over there. They're doing nightly rentals and RVs now, and I think that it's just like, okay, so if you have one great restaurant on the block, some people come and they eat there. But if you have 4 great restaurants on a block, they tell everybody what a great town that is with restaurants. So if you've got 4 or 5 places in town where they can soak in the hot mineral water, and we have several restaurants now that provide really great food. When I first moved here, the Montana was serving hamburgers until 9 o'clock, and I wasn't used to the store closing at 6 o'clock at night. It was hard coming from the Washington area, but the services in the town that are provided, to the tourism and also our regular population, I think it's increased tremendously, and I think I love the antiques and the historic restoration that goes on as well. So, yeah.
Randy, Hot Springs needs economy increase to fund infrastructure. Do you have a plan to bring extra economy to Hot Springs?
Well, I'm not sure how the economy is gonna fund the infrastructure, but I guess we can talk about that. There's kind of two separate things there when you look at funding. Some of the things we really need to do, we live in a great place, and one of the things that I think is one of the great things is Leslie keeps talking about the hot water, and that's great, you soak for an hour a couple times a day. Well, what do you do the rest of the time? And I think that's kind of where we're, as a town, and stuff we've kind of dropped a little bit, is the basin back here needs to be promoted a little more for mountain biking, hiking, cross-country skiing. We need to promote that too, and that'll bring more people here to do different things. They might come and do cross-country skiing, stay at the hotel, soak in the hot water, you get the restaurants. You just need to promote more things for more people to do. And the other big thing is I have been working with the tribe and doing some things. The town's working with the tribe also on the new bathhouse project. One of the things that we're doing and planning ahead for that is, one, when we did the new water tank and we did the water system, we looped the lines back around so the bathhouse will have plenty of fresh water, which when they go to doing that with the hotel, the restaurants and all that, they'll need fresh water also. And also on this next sewer project, we're actually replacing the line, leaving the bathhouse, going to our sewer main. It's about 3 blocks in there, which is getting pretty dilapidated, and it was questionable whether lining it would work, and we chose to just replace it. One of the things that helps promote that flows into the sewer system. So where the town is I'm looking forward anyways, as mayor now, I'm looking forward quite a few years to try and put some of these together so our infrastructure is ready to go for the people and these things go. And we need to promote a lot of other things. Like I said, the recreation, and that's where Hot Springs is going to grow. One of the things we talked about at one time is the town is doing a bottled water company, doing bottled mineral water. We talked about that a little bit, and there's some places to go with that. We have the water, we have the mineral water. Actually, the town actually has the well even, and we could do a bottled Hot Springs water. So there's still things out there and still work to be done.
All right, and Paul, Hot Springs needs an economy increase to fund infrastructure. Do you have a plan to bring extra economy to Hot Springs?
Well, I'm very much along the lines with Leslie, and that's my job. Is when in Alamedas is I depend upon tourism. I depend upon people coming into town. So things that we do is we bring bicycle groups in, bring yoga retreat groups in. We just try to bring a different, diverse group of people coming into town to spend money here. Pretty much everything I do at Alamedas is to increase tourism in this town. That's why we spend so much time, so much money on increasing the availability of hot water at Alamedas. That's pretty much how I do it, is through my own business.
Okay, this question's for Randy, basically. At the last debate, one candidate stated that other towns got free water. Explain how giving free water affects base rates in those towns, or how it would possibly affect our rates if we gave free water.
Well, one of the things most people don't understand is Hot Springs has actually 3 separate budgets. We have the general fund, and then we have 2 enterprise funds. Water is an enterprise fund, sewer is an enterprise fund. They're actually 2 separate companies within the infrastructure. We spoke of Montana Code. Montana Code says your enterprise fund has to be self-supported. So it cannot take on any tax money. It can't take money from other sources, grants and stuff, of course, through infrastructure, but day-to-day running has to be self-supported. And in that, it also has to turn a profit. because you have to have capital improvement and you have to have all that. So when you take that, and we haven't had a water and sewer rate increase for over 5 years, 6 years, something like that, and just start thinking about it, as our power bills have went up, cost of our chlorine has went up, cost of labor has went up, all of our costs keep going up, and we're able to hold those prices down. You start giving away water, well, you're gonna have to make that funding up somewhere. Is the fund has to turn a profit. So if we gave away 5,000 gallons, well, we're gonna have to charge $10 more on the base rate. It's just simple math. It's, if we do this, we gotta do this. We still have to make the money. And you're asking, well, how are you keeping the costs down? One of the things, the town is growing, and we have growth. So when those new customers come onto the service, they're paying their base rate, they're paying for the water, and we manage on how we do that, and we keep our prices down by watching the costs of what we do and making sure we're being effective in what we do. But the enterprise funds, like I said, they have to be self-supportive. So when you start giving stuff away, the money has to come from somewhere. So you're going to pay it one way or another.
All right, Paul. It's been alleged that at the previous forum, some candidates had previous knowledge of the questions. Have you received tonight's questions in advance?
No.
Leslie, did you receive tonight's questions in advance?
I didn't receive any questions in advance at the previous forum, nor have I received previous knowledge of the questions at this forum.
And Randy, have you received tonight's questions in advance?
No, I have not, and I just would hope people would watch it. I attend the other forums, and it was just interesting how it sure seemed to me that maybe some questions were maybe known ahead of time. It just looked that way. And as you see, I have no notebooks in front of me. I'm not flipping through pages to answer questions. He brought one, but I don't have any notebooks in front of me, and I'm not flipping through pages to answer questions. No.
This is a three-part question, and I would imagine the first part's for Randy, but then the third part,
I might need a notebook.
all three are for Randy, and then the last part's, I guess, for everybody. So the three parts are, what is the annual town budget? How much debt does the town have? That's the first two parts of it. So I'll let Randy answer that, and then I'll ask all three of you the last part.
It's hard for me to answer off the top of my head. The town's budget in the general fund is roughly, this is just a rough guess because I don't have a notebook in front of me, about $220,000 to $250,000, just depends on what's there, because if any grants or anything you apply for, that has to be budgeted. So water and sewer is about, to combine, they're about $125 each. The yearly budget total, water, sewer, general funds, about $500,000. And you're asking the debt's just a little over $1 million. And where that major debt came from is the 2003 water project. One of those deals where the town got way behind the 8 ball, and they had to do something with the water project. It had to be done, the water system, it had to be done now, so they had to redo the whole town. Well, they got grants and funding for about $900,000, and the other couple million had to come from you, the ratepayer. So that's where that come from. That's why I firmly believe in these small little projects. We always seem to be doing one, but it's pretty easy to get $900,000 to $1 million in funding, and these projects are running about $1 million. So they're pretty much all funded with grant money, and that's where that's coming from. The other question, I'll throw my minute rebuttal in here right now. One of the last forums, it was mentioned that I was spending our emergency funds, and it confused me because only the county can levy emergency funds, which they did this year, so you will see that on your taxes. The county can do that for the forest fires and stuff they were doing. And I got to thinking about that afterwards. Maybe what they're alluding at is the town doesn't have any capital improvement funds or any savings. Right now the town has actually quite a bit of savings. In our water system we have quite a bit of capital improvement money saved. Sewer system has quite a bit of capital improvement money saved, and so is the town. You gotta remember that we were taking a best guess on a budget. We budget a year out. So do I know that the starter in the dump truck is gonna go out next May? No, I don't. It's best guess is what we're doing. We take trends and we guess. At the end of the year, on June 30th, there's still money left in the budget. Last year there was money left. So what we end up doing with that money is we don't carry it over, we put it in capital improvement funds. We put it in a savings account. That's the easiest way to tell you. We take that money, put it in a savings account, we start with the dollars we're gonna get this next year. And that's where, like last year, the well, one of our main wells, the pump quit. We had the money to write the check to have the company come and fix it. So I get my minute rebuttal too on top of that.
Let's hear it.
No, yeah, you had your minute. Okay, and then the third part is for everybody, and I guess I could start with Paul. In the same frame of questioning, would you vote to increase the debt to provide for an improved infrastructure?
I would have to really look at that, and that's not a question that I can just do hypothetical. I would have to look at the reasons for it and the reasons against it, and just having this question thrown out, I wouldn't be able to answer that off the top of my head.
And Leslie, would you vote to increase the debt to provide for an improved infrastructure?
Well, you have to take that on a case-by-case basis, and there has to be a preliminary engineering report, and we have to know that we can pay that debt back. It has to be something reasonable. And right now, I mean, we are working on the infrastructure of the town, and I feel, just like Randy said, once we finish these projects. Now, we're not gonna have a brand new sewer system when this is done. We will probably have to have further improvement to the sewer lagoons and things in the future. It's not something that, well, Randy can tell you how much we're actually paying for that improvement, but it isn't replacing all the liners and everything that's there. So I guess, I just have to say I'd have to take it on a case-by-case basis. But I'm a real frugal person, and I don't like debt. I like to cash, pay cash front up, yeah.
Randy?
Well, and this is all case by case. Let's just take for the sewer infrastructure improvement, a little over $1 million. We had to borrow some money on that. But one of the things I did a few years ago, we had a loan paid off. We paid off a loan in the sewer system. What I did with the budget is I kept making that payment into a capital improvement fund. So now that we are doing this project, we're gonna have to borrow money, and there's a payment. We're already putting that payment away. That money's already there. It's already gonna go. That's why you're not gonna see the increases in your rates and stuff like that. And that's what you have to keep moving forward on the infrastructure. Like I said, if you can get funding for $1 million and the project costs $1 million, $1.1 million, and you have to borrow $100,000, or do you wait till you're way behind the 8 ball and you have to borrow a couple $1 million? We can pay back small amounts, we can't pay back large amounts. So we need to keep looking at that and figuring out if we can do that and where the money is. One of the questions is about redoing the storm drain system. There is zero funding out there right now for the storm drain. So if we're gonna redo the storm drains in town, let's just say it costs $1 million, that will all be on you, and I will vote no on that. If there was funding out there and it was gonna cost a few thousand and we could figure out a way to pay for it without raising taxes or raising fees, we can look at that, but that's just kind of a moving target. It has to be case by case.
All right, and this question is for Leslie and Paul. Please describe your vision for Hot Springs. Leslie, let's start with you.
My vision for Hot Springs is that we remain an authentic Western town. We retain our character here. We improve our tourism. Hopefully the tribe will restore their bathhouse and add a hotel with a convention center that will have more jobs for young people, will have more housing, and that we retain the character of the town in peace.
Paul, please describe your vision for Hot Springs.
I see this town as an incredibly unique place. This place is by far the most sustainable little community in this country. There are no other community in this country that even comes close to us as far as services and businesses. And I definitely want to make that a priority, that we continue having these incredible businesses and services available to us. I think that once the bathhouse starts moving forward, we're going to find that that's going to be an incredible asset to this town. My whole life has been working with kids. I really want to be able to find more opportunities for children and young adults in this town so that they have the opportunity in the future to come back to a community that will support them in some way, instead of us having our children leave and go to other communities.
This looks like our last one.
That was,
We got one more.
oh, okay.
Okay, we'll start with Paul. Paul, what makes you the best candidate for our community?
I can't say that I love this town any more than anyone else. But I guess that the thing that I bring to the table is my respect for humanity, my respect for the citizens of this community. And I think that's probably my biggest asset to bring.
Leslie, what makes you the best candidate for our community?
Well, I have experience on city council, planning board, and I was in on the first growth policy. I have a lot of common sense, and I have a good temperament, and I like working with people, and I love working with the different nonprofits in town. And even though I might not know every line on the budget, I'm willing to volunteer and work on the committees that have to work outside the once a month city council meeting. I'm always volunteer for the budget and also for the ordinance reviews. And when we did have some additional growth, we just all packed up in the car and we went over to the county and talked to the county planner over in Plains, educating myself, and just using a lot of common sense about what the town is about. And I'd like to be reelected. I think I'm the common sense candidate.
Randy, what makes you the best candidate for our community?
Back to the very beginning, I grew up being community service minded. I've always been community service minded, whether it be watching out for that little old lady that lives up the street that doesn't have any family, to being on the ambulance, the fire department, all kinds of different, the 911 board, the Lake County Fire Association, Sanders County Fire Association, just on and on and on, all the service groups that I deal with and are part of it. But the other big thing is about the town. I grew up here, but I grew up around the older people that knew where everything was, what it was done, how it went. I know a lot of the history. One of the things, just like the other day, they were doing some sewer and water locating and drain locating, storm drain locating out here. And it was kind of amazing. I could walk out and just point to all of it and told them the depths, and they went and got the maps, and I was right on. Just because I've been around it, all of it, for 47 years. I mean, so, and those people I was always grew up with or over hanging out with, even though I was a kid, you learned all these things. So as my signs say, I'm the working mayor and the mayor that works for you, is that's part of it. Is I'm there at 4 in the morning when it's snowing so hard that one plow can't keep up, so I'm driving the other plow truck, so you can get up at 7 o'clock in the morning and go to work. At 3 in the morning, when the public works guy calls and says we have a pump down at the lift station takes a sewer and puts it at the lagoons. If that fails for about 30 minutes, we're putting sewer water into the creek. So, we got to get those pumps back online and get going. I'm the guy down there with him at 3 in the morning, pulling the pump, digging the flushables out of the pump in order so we can get those pumps back online. I'm the guy at midnight cleaning the ditches because people are getting flooded because of the snow melt. I'm there doing that hands-on. I'm not calling someone to go do it. I'm going to be there with them doing it to make sure that's taken care of and make sure the citizens are taken care of. So that's one of those things I've done for years. I want to continue doing it for a little longer.
That's all we have.
All right, does anybody have a quick question they would like to ask, where it's 7:15?
Paul walked in, or John walked in, don't
Uh-oh, yeah, we better stop.
I sure hope he doesn't bully me,
Yeah,
but
so,
Is there going to be
anyway.
a period where the public is going to be able to ask questions?
Well,
the public already did.
we've been asking questions since 6 o'clock,
The call will get started at 6.
so, but, anyway,
Yeah, I do have a question, just a quick question.
It's never quick, John.
It is quick. Hang on, it's quick, hang on.
Oh, he's got it written down.
Yeah.
Did you get a copy of it?
No, and I didn't bring my notebook either.
Hang on a second.
For the answers.
And my apology, I thought it started at 7, I'm sorry.
Does anyone else have anything since John can't? think of it?
smartphone now?
And this is smarter than me. On no service, does anybody have a cell phone I can use that has local service? I'm gonna make a local call.
You're gonna make a local call?
Yeah, I need to make a local call. How do I just,
Oh, mine's, I don't know.
it works, okay, there we go. Okay.
yeah.
And how do you put it on speakerphone?
Mine, and I put this on.
Are you calling the president?
Yeah, well, yeah. Go ahead and put it on speakerphone.
Mr. Trump?
Just so you guys know, this was not planned. This is totally unorthodox.
You're ad-libbing this one.
But this is Hot Springs. This is a unique little town, and everybody has a voice.
Hello, Susan Roberts. This is your secret admirer, #1 fan in Montana. I'm in a candidate forum right now, and I'm wondering why you're not here, because we have questions to ask you.
John,
Because I have to get a restraining order on you, John Marshall.
Well, in your own words, you can always hire an attorney and sue me, honey.
John.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Please don't make
You
this
too,
hot.
bye-bye.
Yeah, don't.
Oh, really?
Yeah, don't.
Okay, my apologies. I was just going to ask her a question. It's a candidate forum, okay?
Right. And she has her telephone number down there on the wall. Please, yeah. Please, I respect you, but this is just not the
My
place.
apologies. My apologies. I was
We'll
gonna-
mingle
all I was
with the
gonna do was
crowd.
ask her a question.
Shut it down.
That's all I wanted to do. Just ask her.
Okay, guys, all right, guys, well, I just want to say thank you for all of you guys showing up. There's still some cookies and donuts and stuff and coffee and tea, so help yourselves, and I'm sure Randy, Leslie, and Paul will mingle and answer any other questions you have. So thank you, everybody, for showing up, and thank you, Stephen.
You know what is so unsportsmanlike? They've been taking down